All right. So first off, let's just say there's gonna be a couple of changes. Well, one big change is we're gonna be launching our episodes on Monday now. So we're gonna
We
go from
are? No, I'm
yeah.
kidding.
Did you
I
not
know
know?
this.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're gonna
we
be
talked for
so
20 minutes before this. Yeah.
new episodes are going to be happening on Monday. And so make sure you got it locked. Well, if you subscribe and you know what's going on with us, just subscribe down below and you'll be alerted as to when a new episode drops on YouTube or on your streaming service if you're listening to us audio wise. I think it's just a better day to launch something on a Monday. You know, Friday gets the weekend. Sometimes people are just a bit like, but Monday just seems like new week, beginning in something new. Good day to launch it. Maybe people are sitting at work and they're a little bummed out and they're just like, oh, what can I do to kill time here? And we'll throw the podcast on for an hour. So I don't know. I think we're going to try Mondays. And if Mondays fucking suck, we'll go back to Fridays, but it doesn't really matter.
We'll see how Garfield it turns out. You know,
Yeah.
like he really hates Mondays. And also, you know, all those times every Friday we put out an episode, and I'm just like, we're just not Urkel, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Christmas was good for you?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
It was Christmas, like, you know, in Montreal, everybody knows what's going on, and in the years you'll hear this, you'll be like, oh yeah, that Christmas.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
you know,
That's two in a row.
mm,
Though it's going to be more like those Christmases I remember. But yeah, Christmas was an interesting one this year. That's for sure. Cause I mean, Montreal, where we're at, like the world got the Omicron, myself
yeah,
included. So I had a very, very quiet, quarantine-ish Christmas, which was interesting because, you know, you expect, the holidays are going to be fun. You're going to see family. And it's like, you go from, I'm going to see, we're going to see big 10 people, maybe
yeah.
15 people. Then you go from, I can't see anybody. Then you go from, we're not allowed to see anybody. And it was just like, I'm kind of glad Christmas is over and we're going to do a
Yeah.
redo in 2022 and have a better one because this one, I mean, both you and I are big Christmas people. And,
Yeah.
and I know in your house, it's like Christmas threw up, but regardless, there was that little bit of cheer that was missing this year.
Oh, absolutely. I had a better time this year than last year just because, you know, comparatively speaking, you just kind of get a little used to the situation.
Yeah.
And but also I am a very social creature by nature. So the last 2 years has been kind of like, you know, kind of accepting a new reality in a sense where now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, Christmas is going to happen. You might see your family and like that's it.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger, much less of a shock this year comparison to
Last
last
year.
year when comparatively to the year prior in which when I had 50 people in my
Yeah.
house.
Well, yeah, your place is always a big deal at Christmas. I mean, you have the best Christmas party. You have people that
Mm,
are coming in and out, and it was always one of the highlights of Christmas was going to your place for Christmas. So, I mean,
oh,
yeah, it's definitely sucks, but we're going to
yeah.
get to it. We're going to get to it. We're going to get
You know,
back
it
to
doesn't suck.
what?
Head. This interview. It's great.
I just wanted to say thank you for my Christmas gift. One of my many Christmas gifts that you got me. I'm wearing it now. And
Awesome.
yeah, you guys really spoiled me this year. My birthday was like right after
Well,
because I'm
that's
one of
why.
those. I know.
we're
So
like we're like let's double up.
I,
So all the
I
presents you would have gotten like a few months apart must have seemed pretty like wow, that's a lot. But I'm like, no, this is what I would have given you had your birthday been in I don't know June or something.
well, that's
Yeah.
that's the nice thing because most people are like, here, this is for your Christmas and birthday, and they just kind of
Yeah.
like peace out. But you guys definitely were very generous. So thank you for that. So Ryan, not only is this episode rad because we got to speak to one of the guys from KORN. I mean, Brian Head Welch from KORN is, he's a legend in the new metal world and the metal world. The guy's had a crazy roller coaster of a life, come out on the other end, much better for it. He's got sobriety. He's a pretty rad dude, and he is a founding member of KORN. Let's face it. When KORN did not have him in the band, there was something missing, and as soon as he came back, it was gangbusters. It was on again. But we got to speak to Javon from the band Noble Poets, and the reason why these guys got together is a fascinating story. It's really cool how he kind of took Javon under his wing. And he's really, really championing this project that Javon's involved in. And both of them have incredible stories. So I don't want to go on too much because this episode is really raw. It's really powerful and it's really positive. So without any further ado, let's check out this episode with Brian Head Welch from KORN and Javon ODW Barnes from Noble Poets. All right, really, really happy to welcome to the Rockman Power Hour two gentlemen who I'm very familiar with, and one I'm just getting to know. And I first of all, I love talking about overcoming addiction because it's something that I'm very passionate about. I got sober when I was 21 years old. I just turned 50, about to be 51 in January. So I've had long-term sobriety, but sobriety is a journey. It's a struggle, and I love being able to chop it up with gentlemen that have had experience in that. And today we are joined by two of them. Javon ODW Barnes is with us, and Brian Head Welch from the band KORN. First of all, gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I like sharing this kind of stuff, and I like sharing with people that are trying to make a difference, because there's a lot of people out there that just aren't really trying to make a difference. And it seems like you guys were put in each other's path for a reason, and you have work to do. So let's talk about that.
You know, everybody thinks of themselves. It's a epidemic of selfishness. You know that. Mm-hmm. I was like that. You know, we're born to think of me, you know, I. So I think a lot of people know my story, where I got handed everything in the world when I made it with KORN, and I gladly took it.
Yeah.
And I went for it, because dude, let's be honest. It was fun to be young and to party and to be rebellious and to do the things that you shouldn't be doing. And, you know, a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, but anything in excess starts to turn on you and eat at you alive, you know, and it just eats you alive, I should say.
Yeah.
And, So yeah, I did like 11. I pretty much started drinking and messing with drugs at I actually smoked my first little bit of weed at like 8 years old.
Wow.
Or 7. It was 7 because it was in LA when I was born in LA. Messed with it at 7. A friend's older brother would smoke weed, and we were like, "What's that smell?" And he told us about it, and then we would steal his little roaches and go smoke it.
Yeah.
So, and then I moved to Bakersfield, and that's where I first didn't really meet, but I knew of Jonathan Davis. He was in 3rd grade. I was in 4th, and I remember him from that elementary school. And so, yeah, I didn't mess with anything when I moved to Bakersfield until about 7th grade. A kid down the street from me had some weed, and I remembered it when I was real little, and I bought some from him. And I remember I smoked a joint in my backyard, or however many hits I could take before I zoned out. I remember I started smoking it, and I didn't want my parents to catch me high. So I looked at the clock. It was 12:30, and school got out early. I sat on the chair, and I said, okay, it's 12:30. They get home at like 4:30. I'm good for 4 hours. I took a few hits. And then the next thing I remember is I looked at the clock, and it was 4:15. And I had just sat there. And so that scared me. I lost like almost 2 hours of my life. And I don't know what I guess I just sat there, and I'd stopped at that point. And so I was like having a good track record with weed. I wasn't really liking it that much. But you know, you just keep trying, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, why not listen to the red flags, right? And so, and then, you know, I got into bands with Fieldy and James Monkey and David, the guys that would later become KORN. Jonathan wasn't in the picture, but we would be drinking, you know, 15, 16 years old, drinking at our rehearsal studios, and then drink every weekend. Every weekend we drank. And so I got started early, and I did it all the way till 23. We got Jonathan in the band, started drinking. I mean, I drank all those years. And I'm thankful that my liver's still doing good. We joined the band, and we're like, wow, we just gained a career, and we could get free alcohol now. And so loved the music, loved the party, went for it for 11 years until it ended up with crystal meth and Vicodin, Xanax, alcohol, obviously. And that's when I left the band, found my faith, and got very clean. Like just nothing, dude. I went straight to organic foods, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing. And Yeah. But so I met Javon as I was re-entering back into KORN.
Okay.
I met Javon. Yeah. And I heard his story, which he's going to tell you a little bit more, but it was crazy. I'm like, man, I thought my story was crazy. What are you doing breathing? How are you breathing right now? And so and we ended up just messing around, doing a couple tracks, and just doing some demo stuff. And it turned into something more. And Javon put his project together. He worked on and off with it for years. He'll tell you more about it, but we did one song together. But yeah, he got this new album that he's got that's just all about just his past and fighting through life to get where he's at, which is he's in a great place now. So I don't know if you want to have him tell his story.
So this is the ironic thing, and this is why it's so important that people communicate and chat and talk, because I've always thought that if stuff's up in your head and you're not communicating it and sharing with someone else, it can be the worst thing that's going on in here. But then once you communicate and you talk to someone, you get some insight and someone, you'll be able to get someone else's opinion, look on it. And, as bad as you think it might've been for you, Brian, you meet Javon and his past is just, after watching the video testimonial that you did, Javon, I was like, this guy's a warrior. So, but it's crazy how, when we open ourselves up to hearing other people's stories and not just thinking of ourselves, that there's a lot of healing that can go on and transferences of energy or whatever you want to believe in. I think it's really, really incredible. So when I saw that you guys paired up, I was very intrigued to say the least. And then when I watched the video for Never Fit In, it was really, really special. So first of all, Javon, welcome. Tell me what, first of all, what's it like when, one of the guitar players from KORN knocks on your door and says, "Hey, I like your story. Let's collaborate." Because that's got to be, it's got to take a bit of time to kind of let that go away. And you just see, you don't see Head, you see Brian.
Yeah. From the beginning, I just wanted to be friends with Brian. I'm not the guy. I think it's because of my past and having so much money and having the fame that comes along with moving a couple million a month in weight and being a distributor and, working with higher end echelon of people. I more just wanted to connect with Brian. And as time went on, we just became friends. And that's for me, that's what it's always been. And it's not been.
We have a mutual friend actually named Brandon, and we just connected kind of randomly, but not randomly through Brandon and a guy named Chris Overstreet. And so it was just like we had a few guys had a lot in common. So it happened naturally.
Right. Yeah. Which is always the nicest way for these kind of friendships to happen, but when you get on the subject of music, does it get a little weird?
For me, it didn't, just because of the fact that I've look up to Brian. Yeah. And so he's mentored me a lot in so many different areas. Brian's brought forth the drummer from Red, Joe, that mixed our stuff. And then that connected to our mastering guy that mastered Brian's Love and Death project. So, and I would send stuff to Brian. We did a track called Addiction that we still haven't released, but we just vibed together. I think because our daughters are, about a month and a half apart. Yeah. We both had such similar pasts with enormous amounts of wealth and drug addiction and dragging our kids through that mentality. We talk about our kids more than we do, music and stuff. It's like, hey, how's Janaea doing? Like, how's Mac doing? He calls her Mac. And so, Mackenzie's in graduate school, Janaea is doing well. It's like the whole thing is just such a miracle in regards to, I shouldn't be breathing. I mean, I changed my life when my friend gets shot in the head next to me in a massive drug deal. So, I shouldn't be breathing with the amount of cocaine and LSD and dimethyl-tryptamine. I didn't like doing one thing. I liked 6 or 7 things at one time. I was kind of like a human garbage disposal. So putting all those in my system at once is what made that pain go away. But when I met Brian and he was, just getting ready to go back to KORN, I didn't grow up listening to KORN's music. I've more been the hip hop culture guy, but after getting to know Brian and really listening to the level of musicianship that they operate in, and being Brian's brought me to some events that they've done, and watching what they do and how they do it and how good they actually are. I've never seen anything like it before. It's just they're beyond. Sitting on stage behind Brian Weiss playing guitar and watching, being a musician and watching them, it was so uplifting and so encouraging, and inspired me to continue writing and producing. And so over the years, I've just been like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And I finally got to the point where I felt like Caleb and I, who's my partner in this record label, and he's the one who's singing on Never Fit In, we got to a place where we really felt that this message was ready to be given to humanity. And that's really the posture that we've taken, is that this is a gift to humanity. And, we're hoping that through this process, people can be, led on the other outside of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
If they're in the tunnel, they can know that they can come on the other outside of it by making some life changes. And that being 29 years, I mean, you don't get there overnight, but one day at a time, one step at a time, and coming out of trauma and abuse, and then, being a drug dealer, and then going into recovery and being recovered for as long as I have been. It's, we get to give that to other people. So
I'm just saying, like, all of us probably talking here, once you get that close to death or whatever, and you have been given another chance, you want to do anything you can to help others find that second chance for them too. Definitely. That's it, man. It's like, the foundation of it, I think, is birthed from gratefulness for our second chance.
Yeah.
And it's, and that's the thing, depending on what you like, I'm a 12-step guy, right? So for me, it's, I love it, because I'm given a set of rules. I'm giving, some things to follow. And I like that. For me, it's like a recipe, right? Like, you can't, if you want to make a really nice banana bread, if you leave the baking soda out, it's going to suck. So you need that. And that's how it is for me with my sobriety. It's like, I need to follow the steps. But the best step in my 12-step program is the last one, because that's when I carry the message to someone who's still suffering. And I think what you're doing now, both of you, I mean, obviously, Brian, you've been kind of carrying the flag for sobriety for a while, showing people that there is another side, that there is, you can still obviously be very cool, being a very successful band, and not have to use drugs and alcohol. And you're doing the same, Javon, by, that like, again, I keep going back to that testimonial video. That's really, really powerful stuff, man.
Are you talking about the 16-minute?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you watched that whole thing. Okay.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I watched that today, and I was, of course, like, Never Fit In is powerful too, but that 16-minute thing, I that's something I think that should be shown to kids. Right. That's something that should be, because people need to see that you need to see that people do get out of that stuff, and there is a way out. But I think a lot of people are just how do you get out of it? Where do you turn? What do you do? So it's important that there's that's available and readily available for people to see and to participate in. So I got to commend both of you for putting that together and for being involved with that.
Yeah, I think what's really cool is I have not met a person yet that has not changed their life and had it end up worse than it was. Mm-hmm. When we make our decisions to change, no matter how small or how big, because a lot of people don't have stories like Brian has, or has stories like I have, but their story is their story. And if they stay authentic to that story, their trauma could not seem as drastic as mine, but it was still trauma, right? That they went through, and that affected them in an adverse way. So when they make a decision to curb that by doing the opposite of what they've been doing, the gates get opened up for a new life and to make different decisions, and watching the outcome. That's the fun part, is watching the transition of people's lives when they change, when it doesn't seem like that you could. And you fight out of that gutter, and then all of a sudden it seems like you're at the top of the hill, but there was a lot of valleys to get to the top of that hill. And I don't believe there's ever an arrival point, but I do believe the farther that we get away from the abuse, the more time that we have under our belt, it builds that strength.
Mhm.
And so if my life could be donated to giving other people strength in the midst of when they're going through the valleys and when they're at the bottom of the gutter and they're, only 3 days sober, man, I will donate every bit of time that I have to help others. And that's really what this music is about. It is about that, the underdog rising up and not becoming what they were, but becoming who they're supposed to be. Right. So.
And Brian, I mean, obviously with KORN, you guys were always, you always were a band that forged your own road. I mean, you didn't sound like anybody. You didn't look like anybody. You were true originals. What's it like to come back to the band with a new perspective? Because most people I speak to that either left bands because of, bad blood or broke up and that come back to it, and then, get to the same level, if not higher. They're usually in a much better place mentally, but they have this new appreciation for it. Did you find that was the same thing for you when you joined back with KORN? Yeah.
Appreciation is the key word. I mean, all of us in the band have been through issues like that and gotten through it. And it's just like, wow, we still have this many fans coming to see us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, and then, you wake up one day and you realize it's never been about me.
Yeah.
It's always been about them.
Yeah.
This gift was given to us for them because they connect with our music so strongly. And yes, we have, like I got a nice house and I got a nice car and everything. So I got some gifts too, but the music is just always been about connecting with all those people out there. Jonathan's always been very emotional with his lyrics and he's helped so many people. He's like, we've always said, he's like a voice for the wounded,
He really is.
So it's very powerful, man, when you come out on the other side with clear eyes, with that much gratefulness,
You also, it's funny when Ray joined the band, I was so excited because, and nothing against David, because I thought David was great, but I first heard about Ray when I got into the Army of Anyone record. And I remember, the first time I put on that record, because I was a massive Stone Temple Pilots fan and I was a big fan of Filter. I loved Richard. So when those guys kind of, did a Wonder Twin power thing, formed that band.
Right.
And I was like, who the fuck is this guy playing drums? Because the fills at the end of Goodbye. I mean, there's this pattern. I don't know if you're familiar with Javon. If you're not, you've got to listen to this song, because at the end of this song, he does these fills. He does about a minute of fills that are just ridiculous. It's pretty much like he's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, we're gonna have a contest and I'm just gonna whip it out and show you I have the biggest one, because it's just like ridiculous. So when he joined KORN, I had seen you before, and there was a special groove that happened with KORN. With David. I mean, you guys were locked, but man, seeing you guys with Ray was just like crazy. And he's also, I've gotten to do a bit of stuff with him. We had a covers project that we did over quarantine called the Kings of Quarantine, and he played on the first cover. He's just a beautiful human being.
Oh my gosh, he is so kind.
Such a good dude.
I sat backstage and we were up in this was at one of the shows that Brian had brought me to, and I haven't met anybody that wants to, he just wants to connect. And I sat there and talked with him for a couple hours about him drumming with David Lee Roth. And I had one of my friends with me, and they were like, man, he is one of the nicest people that I think that I've ever personally met. I mean, the guy is just a really great human, and he's fun to be around. And so you watch the excellence of the
awesome.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a great player, but it's another thing to be a great human. Yeah. There's a lot of great players that are not great humans, right? But when you're sitting there talking with him, it's just like, man, I felt like I had gotten 10 years younger, but got 10 years wiser by the time I was done, and I've had similar, very, at multiple events, just been able to just connect with with him. And he's just, he's great, man. Really, really cool.
That's why I think he's, his personality is the biggest thing. He's just really, a kind guy. And we have a lot of fun together. I mess with him. Me and him are like, kind of like, maybe the Jeffersons, like Wheezy, like George Jefferson and Wheezy, how they go back and forth at each other. No, maybe that's not a good one. I don't know, but we like throw shade constantly. It's funny. We make
Yeah.
Jonathan laugh all the time because it's just like he's like you two are like an old married couple.
He's like I mentioned, we when the whole world shut down, we were doing I got together with my friend Bill from Mastodon and my guitar player, and we decided we were going to do some covers. So we reached out to a guy named Yeti, who's a drum tech, and he put together this thing called
Yeti. That's my boy.
Right. So we put together Roadie Relief.
The Foo Fighters, right?
Exactly. So we did this thing called the Kings of Quarantine, and we did a cover of We Care a Lot by Faith No More. And Ray jumped in right away, and we had a ton of people on it. But just being able to chat with him and to, you know, the back and forth with the planning of it and all that, he was wonderful to deal with. So I was really happy when he joined KORN, and I was happy when you came back. And I'm just glad that KORN's where it's at right now. And I know that, you know, I know Fieldy's taking care of stuff and he's going to come back. And I know that's all going to be good because you guys are at a point, at least it seems where I'm at, that you guys respect the space that everybody needs, but you guys are a family.
Yeah, totally. That's it, man. And, you know, it's just we're all in different processes. That's it.
Yeah.
So we're here for everybody in whatever they need.
So Noble Poets, new album is going to be coming out. Debut album is going to be coming out in 2022. Can you tell me a bit more what people can expect when this record drops?
Yeah, it evolves through, you know, Never Fit In was when I was a little kid.
Right.
And our next single drop, which is Humpty Dumpty, which comes out January 7th. We'll have video release with that as well. It moves from being a kid that was, as you saw the video, pretty traumatically abused. On that video, I didn't exaggerate anything. I actually probably underplayed it to a degree because of the level of violence that was living in my home. Watching my mom get knocked out, and, you know, my dad taking adamant objects and beating me with those things on a continuum. So Humpty Dumpty moves into me leaving the house at the age of 15, and then I move into, you know, essentially hitchhiking to Humboldt County. And then by the time I was, 19 or 20, I was moving minimal $1 million a month.
Wow.
You know, sometimes even more than that. I had 5 houses I was growing at. I had a glass manufacturing operation. I had, you know, depending on the transient movement of it was 20 to 40 foot soldiers. I mean, it was just, so we moved through this record all the way up until my friend getting shot in the head next to me. Well, my friend that got shot in the head next to me, my house got raided about 2 months later. And that's when they got me for, you know, 105, 108 pounds and hash manufacturing operation. CPS took my oldest daughter. They wanted to put me in the pen for 8 years. So the record moves through that life story up until, you know, about track 9 or 10, where we step into the arena of overcoming.
Right.
And we're leading into the next record of what overcoming looks like. And so it's my life story. Noble Poets is, you know, obviously with Caleb singing, Brian had this really cool, we were on a 3-way call, and he was like, you know, the thing that I just love about this, you can feel so much tension in Javon's story, but Caleb does this wonderful job at bringing a resolve to the whole situation and bringing the answer to the track. And so I believe that's why it's taken so long to actually, I've had a lot of this written for a long time, but I didn't feel solidified because I'm not a singer like Caleb is. Right. And so once we formed, he's come alongside, and I mean, it's crazy that one of my best friends on the planet is 20 years younger than me. I mean, I call him an old soul because it's like a 40-year-old living in a 20-year-old body. Sometimes I'm like, man, you don't realize how wise you are for your age. But he didn't go through a lot of the stuff that I went through, and has made really, really good life choices. I mean, he's just extremely intelligent and can sing. Boy, can he sing. We don't auto-tune his voice. We're not doing none of that stuff. And he can hit, you know, levels of singing that a lot of people can't do. So, you know, expect on the record hard-hitting subs. We love that sub work, but a really strong, potent message of recovery and what the other side looks like, and you know, preparing people up for that crescendo of the rise, the fall, and then the rise again, because it really leads up to me rising at the level of being where I was at such a young age and having that kind of money, and, you know, having a ridiculous home, spa on my back. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy, man. The level of everything that I had at such a young age, and then losing it all, having your daughter taken, wanting to put you in prison, your friend, you know, the gun jamming at your head, your friend getting shot in the head next to you twice. You know, the guy who shot my friend in the head got shot a week later in Las Vegas. He was thrown in a dumpster. And that's how the Vegas feds ended up on my property. That's why I got off of everything and didn't get any criminal charges. Because when the Humboldt County sheriffs came on my property, they had a falsified warrant, because the Vegas feds, who I would not cooperate with, came on my property without a warrant investigating a murder. And so I kicked them off my property. They tipped off the Humboldt sheriffs. Well, those sheriffs had a warrant that was not, it was a falsified warrant. So I think there were some combinations of other things that my lawyer was doing that we don't need to go into, because I don't have proof of it.
Yeah. But I think what's important is that you got past that, and you're in a place now where you can lay all that out for people and say, hey, there's a way out because I got out of it. And that's what people need, is they need that inspiration. They need to see tangible examples of that. And I think both of you are exactly that. You know, I think all three of us are, but I just love these kind of stories. So first of all, I want to thank you both for joining me. I could sit and talk to you guys for hours and hours about this, but we all have lives and we got to get stuff going. But thank you so much, man. And Brian, thank you for taking the time as well. I'm looking forward to the new KORN record. I know that there's been some teases that have been dropped lately. Just in the last couple of days, there's been stuff all over social media, and this is kind of getting dropped out of nowhere. So I think it's a fun time to be a fan of KORN, and it's a fun time to be a soon to be fan of Noble Poets. So I commend both of you.
Come on. Yeah. Well, thank you for having us. And we just dropped a new song, KORN song, Start the Healing. It's doing really well, and people are excited about it. And my other band, Love and Death, just dropped our live DVD this week. So lots going on, man, but I'm stoked to be able to see you, Javon. I miss you, bro. Yeah, great talking to you, Jason. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. All the best.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Peace.
Yeah, man. You know, we're starting off 2022. Like, that was a bit of a heavy interview, but at the same time, very informative. And it's just really interesting to see, like, I've never been a millionaire and I've never lost it all. And it makes me think, I'm like, it's kind of bittersweet. It's like you get fame and fortune, but, you know, at a cost.
I know.
I'm like, well, I like my life, so maybe I'm good, you know?
Yeah. Both these guys, as you heard, have gone through the ringer, but they've come out stronger for it. And I was really just excited to have them both on, man. And it's cool. It's a little unconventional, you know, like having two people on. It's different, and but it's fun. It was really, really fun to have them on, and I appreciate them.
My God, I remember when KORN came on the scene for the first time, and they were just kind of like, they're almost scary.
Yeah.
You know, like, who are all these guys with all these dreadlocks, and you know, they're screaming about abuse and stuff, and but it was really interesting to see, like, they were always around for a few years. Like, I would see their name everywhere. I'm like, what the hell is KORN? And it's amazing how they just exploded in this whole musical style that would follow them and stuff like that. It's quite insane that we had them as a guest on our show.
They were the biggest band on the planet, and they were so popular, and they still are. The thing with KORN is that, I mean, people can say whatever they want about KORN, but if you see KORN live, they're undeniably good. They're just unbelievable. I've seen them so many times, got a chance to actually play with them once, and they're the real deal, man. And there's just a vibe to that music that is just so powerful, especially live. And they're one of the, they're one of those bands that they're going to be like their generation's Metallica. They're that big, and they're that, down to the logo, down to everything. They're just synonymous with so many things, with power, with aggression and authenticity. There's nothing that's unauthentic about KORN. They're very, what you see is what you get. And they put Adidas on the map. again.
Speaking of Metallica, they did this performance when I think Metallica were winning some kind of award, and a bunch of, I think it's called Icon. Yeah, it was a show called
Yep.
Icon, and a
Yep.
few people would cover their songs, and Korn played one, and that's like my favorite thing Korn ever did.
Yeah.
Because it was really cool. Yeah.
I
remember
was,
that a lot.
listen, I'm a big Korn fan. I always will be. I'm a ride or die for Korn. I always have been ever since I first heard them. Been a fan, ever since the beginning. My guitar player Kevin got into them before me, and I love that band, and they're a big part of my story because they were one of the bands that we looked up to, Slaves on Dope, when it came to the whole new metal movement, and then we. I don't want to say we never really modeled ourselves after Korn. We just kind of really loved what they did, where they were at. And I remember moving to Los Angeles and we got sponsored by Adidas. And we were so happy because it was this guy named Ole who was the marketing rep for our Adidas. And he was the same guy that got Korn hooked up. And I remember we were like, oh, that's so rad, man. We're fucking sponsored by fucking Adidas, and they were sponsored by Adidas. And I remember Korn had these Adidas bathrobes that they wore in some of their videos, because they used to make home videos, like live videos. And you remember when bands used to do home videos, and that you would buy a
the
video?
Pantera one is legendary.
Exactly.
Man.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So they had home videos too that were great. They did the Family Values tour. And I remember they would be backstage or after a show and they had showered and they had their Adidas bathrobes. And I was like, that is cool. And I remember when we got Adidas bathrobes, we thought we were the shit. So
I wish I had a robe, period.
Kevin still has all his Adidas bathrobes. He probably has all his pairs of Adidas too. But
but with Kevin's size, I could I can make 3 bathrobes for me with he's so tall.
Yeah.
But Kevin, shout out to Kevin though. Kevin really Kevin's told me some stories about how he caught on to like Guns N' Roses and saw them opening up for Iron Maiden and everybody hated them stuff like that. But him and his friends had a Guns N' Roses sign and stuff like that. So shout out to Kevin for like kind of seeing the future.
He was on his finger was on the pulse back in the day. That's for sure. I'm stoked for this season. I mean, for this year and for all the things we have coming up. We just went over the schedule before we started recording today, and we've got some really good stuff for January and heading into February that I think people are going to be really excited about. But next week, Ryan, we have an absolute legend that is joining us, an absolute legend. If you are a fan of Clockwork Orange, if you're a fan of Star Trek, if you're a fan of the movie Cat People, no matter what, this guy has had his fingers in so many things in modern cinema. He worked with Stanley Kubrick. I mean, how many people can say they worked with Stanley Kubrick?
And
how many people can say they played Caligula? Like, this guy has done everything. And I'm really excited for next week because we have Malcolm McDowell that's going to be joining us on the podcast. And this is a huge one. He's got a new show that he's working on. That's a Canadian production. That's called Son of a Critch. And I think it's going to be a really, really fun one. So make sure you tune in next week to the Rockman Power Hour. Myself and Ryan Stick will be back. Let's give out our thanks to everyone involved with the episode. Thank you to Head from KORN and Javon from Noble Poets. I want to thank Jamie Roberts for helping us hook that interview up. Thanks to our producer, Julia Kajerski, and thanks to everyone else involved with the podcast. We will see you again next Monday. Now our new episodes will be dropping on Monday, and make sure you like, subscribe, and you will be alerted every time there is a new episode. On behalf of myself and the Rockman Power Hour, we'll see you next week.